Hey there, Greg Williams here. I am going to be writing an offer today and wanted to walk you through the steps. So at this point, I have already created the file for Alex and Luis Rivera. I already have their pre-touring agreement signed. So at this point, we have identified a property that they'd like to make an offer on. Let's just jump right into it. I'm going to start by clicking Add Forms. What we have here is are these little form packets that we put together that have all of the documents that you might need to put an offer together. So you're never really going to be in a situation where you click select all and you take all of these documents. We're just going to kind of piece it together. So for starters, let's do our brokerage compliance type stuff. So we need to have the affiliated business disclosure. We're going to do the wired fraud prevention notice. And if the offer is not accepted on this, at least we'll have this stuff already signed moving forward. This is a newer home, so we don't need lead paint disclosure. It's not in an HOA, it's not in a condo, so we don't need any of these riders. So we will add in the purchase agreement. When you see here that it says auto balancing percentage or money sign, that's on page 1. I'll show you once we get there. That's essentially going to do the math for us on page 1. And that pretty much does it for these documents. I'm going to click Add Selected Forms. And one thing that's pretty cool about this program is that the forms can communicate with whatever we put into the file information section over here. So I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to click Import Values, Import from Info Fields. And this is going to bring in some names for us, including our office name. So right there, we've just refilled this. And I'm actually, instead of putting office name, or excuse me, instead of putting agent name, this should be the office. We're going to be coming out with a updated affiliated business agreement in the near future. Let me show you real quick what we can do about this, which will be done for you moving forward. I'm just going to take a little text box, add it right here. I'm just going to X that out. So poof, done. I'll hit close. Now, the reason we want this wire fraud prevention notice here is because, I personally have encountered some wire fraud issues with one of my customers. I had a scenario where a couple days before closing, one of my buyers reached out to me pretty much in tears, telling me a story about his daughter and son-in-law were purchasing a home, and they wired $300,000 to the closing agent. And unfortunately, some scammers somehow got into their email account and changed the wiring information. So the 300,000 unfortunately went overseas and was never seen again. And unfortunately, those buyers never got to buy a house. So it's important to make sure that we just make the public aware of wire fraud. If best case scenario, you want your buyer or seller, for that matter, to reach out to the closing agent before they send the wire, just to confirm the wiring instructions. So what we'll do here is start filling this out. This is the property we're making our offer on. I'm a big fan of copy and paste, so we're going to be doing a lot of that today. Actually, let's try something new here that I've actually never done. Import values. Looks like we can import some stuff using our MLS ID. So we'll experience this together. Perfect. So what this is going to do is fill in uh, quite a few of our lines here. Look at that. So yeah, this is a probate scenario, but I think they've already been through a significant portion of that process. So instead of putting the actual seller's name, it's this is some information that was written in by the listing agent from her counsel. So our offer amount is going to be 310,000. We're going to make a $6,000 deposit. And some of this stuff has been pre-filled out. So this deposit will be made within 5 days of the effective date. The effective date is the date that all signatures and initials are on the contract to make it executed. We're not going to do an additional deposit, so we can skip this line. I have set up my personal app files account to pre-fill the escrow agent that I frequently use. But since we are in Lee County, we are going to have the seller pay for title. So we're going to go ahead and put their settlement information in here. All right, so we're not making a secondary deposits. We're going to skip that one. For financing, they are going to put 3.5% down. So this is the autofill that I was talking about, the auto balance percentage number sign. I'm going to put 3.5% there. And that's actually going to do the math at the bottom here. I don't like to leave blank lines. So I'm throwing a 0 right there. So basically our offer amount is 310. There's going to be a deposit of 6,000. The loan amount is 3.5%. So the cash due. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got to reverse this. 96.5%. Because they're doing 3.5% down. So now the cash due at closing is $4,850. This is when the offer expires. We're going to let this expire tomorrow. The closing date is going to be on or before April 4th. This gives us the opportunity to close a little early without having to put together an addendum. There is no lease, so we don't have to do anything with that. A little pro tip here, as you're looking at the lines, there's a little asterisk on the lines that need your attention. So we have this set up so that they may assign it but not be released from liability. That's kind of the standard that I go with. This top one would be may assign and be released from liability, which is probably not something that you're going to use very often. And this one says may not assign the contract. The reason you want an assignment is in case our buyers decide to put together a trust or an LLC, this gives them the ability to assign the contract to their trust or LLC. This box right here might be used in the rare case where you've got a wholesaler putting the property under contract and they have the intention of flipping the contract to someone else. So we're not going to use that, of course. All right, so we're in our finance contingency. This is going to be contingent on financing. In many of these places, there's going to be, a default if you leave a box blank. I still tend to prefer to always fill in the boxes regardless of the autofill. But, I'm going to leave that up to you guys. Here's conventional financing. This one, if left blank, the prevailing rate. So I actually do, in this case, I'm going to contradict myself. I'm going to leave this one blank because I do prefer to keep this contingent on it, just, closing at the prevailing interest rate. 30-year financing is what we're going with. And this box is saying that our buyers need to file an application within 5 days of the effective date. I've encountered scenarios where buyers, sometimes wait until, like a month after we go under contract to fill in a loan application. And at that point, it just wreaks havoc on our transaction. So this is a good thing to just remind our buyers, hey, you need to get that application filled out as quickly as possible. These do not apply. I personally do not charge my buyers the FCC fee. I'm just going to absorb that out of my commission. So I'm going to leave that out of there. So this box is referencing what we worked on in page 1. The seller is going to choose the escrow agent and the closer, and they're going to pay for title insurance. So where were we? We're right here. So this is going to be kind of a default that I've already checked within app files. I want to show you real quick. If you go into your app files home and you go into form values right here, you have the option of pre-filling out some of your forms. So you can see right here, I've pre-filled out some of these forms. So that way, when you pull up these forms in future transactions, they're already partially filled out for you. So anyway, we're going to continue along here. In this particular case, I generally would use seller shall pay installments due prior to closing and buyer shall pay installments due after closing. This is pertaining to assessments. I generally use this one because basically it's saying, seller's responsible for assessments up to the day of closing, and then the buyers are responsible for them after closing. But in this case, this is a Cape Coral contract, and there is a city assessment in place for the water and sewer. And my buyers are going to ask the sellers to pay for that city assessment at closing. So this will be the case where you actually check that box. A lot of this is just boilerplate stuff. We are going to do a 10-day home inspection. So I have that already filled out at 10. Now we're getting into the addendums. One thing that I needed to add to this that I did not is the compensation addendum. And I believe this one also has the defective drywall addendum that we're gonna have to have our buyers sign. So I'm going to close this form packet out real quick. And I need to add our compensation addendum. And we also need to add the seller's broker to buyer's broker addendum. And this, of course, just ensures that we're going to get paid at closing. Now, since we're doing this, I'm also going to pull in our supplements. Got the seller's disclosure. And then the defective drywall. The listing agent opted to go with the defective drywall disclosure just because of the um, age of the home. But we haven't seen any evidence of defective drywall on the property. And here's the assessment payoff. I'm going to include this in the contract paperwork. So now we're going to upload these documents. And now we're going to merge all of these documents into one package. So we'll go to Actions, Merge Forms, Effective Drywall, Seller's Disclosure. The pre-touring agreement, that's a private agreement between the brokerage and our customer. This is not something we should ever need to supply to the other, the co-broke or the other party. Kind of similar concept. We would never ask the listing agent to give us a copy of their listing agreement. Vice versa, we would never need to give the listing agent a copy of our pre-touring agreement. All right, so we're going to merge all of these and let's change the name of this form packet. So, I'm gonna add the pre-approval to the packet as well, because then we can just send this all together. We can import the values again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make these two sections talk to each other. We're going to now import values from our form packet. Now we can see this whole section has a significant amount of information. We can import values from that info field. And now we have a significant amount of information filled out for us. So I'm just going to kind of review this as I go down. The legal description is here. If for some reason you are not able to find the legal description, I want to show you where you can find that real quick. When you're in your listing or the property, click on this property ID, and this will automatically open up Realist tax data and give you a significant amount of information on that particular property. This is handy to have for creating your listings as well. So anyway, let's get back to filling this out. So we've got our offer amount, we've got this whole section filled out. This is for, we need to make sure that we incorporate our compensation agreement. And what I want to do real quick is double check what the name of that compensation agreement is. It doesn't actually have a name, excuse me, letters. See, this is kind of what I was looking for. So I'm just gonna check other. Unless the compensation agreement was added over here somewhere. Oh, no, that's part of it. Now, in additional provisions, we do have a few things we're going to add. And I believe there's some additional information we need to copy and paste into this. All right, correct. Hurricane window and master bedroom will be fixed. Perfect. I did reach out to this listing agent before I put this agreement together. I find that it's most effective to chat with the co-broke ahead of time. That way we have as little back and forth with negotiations as possible. So I kind of clarified the timeline of when the seller wants to close. And that's where we came up with our closing date. Just confirmed, the situation altogether, the correct window, whether or not this is still in probate. We are going to write in there that the seller is going to pay the assessment balance, even though this says buyer is to assume it. And then what I also need to do is she told me that there was some verbiage in a previous listing that needs to be copied and pasted into it. So let me see here. I don't actually see the verbiage she's talking about, so we're going to skip that. That sounds good for that. So this auto-filled the two agents' information here. This is the drywall. So now we need to figure out how to add the buyer initials on. So to do that, you click Edit. Look right where you want it to be. Then we need to designate the second buyer right here. And basically what this clause is doing is just saying we've got 7 days to check the house for defective drywall, but that's going to be done within our 10-day home inspection period. Here is the seller's property disclosure, same thing. We need to add initials. This is kind of the tedious part where you get to watch me just click boxes. So kind of the premise behind having the buyer sign a property disclosure ahead of time is that anything that's been pre-disclosed should not be a point of renegotiation down the road. So as a listing agent, I like to have my buyers sign these ahead of time, just so that we aren't going to have to renegotiate a cracked window or something like that that everyone was already aware of. And that's OCD out there. I will line this up for you. Close this out. Now what we need to do is make sure that the listing agent is paying us our 2.5%, which matches what we have on our pre-touring agreement. I did reach out to her and confirm that it is the listing, the seller's broker that's going to be paying the compensation, not the seller directly. And I did confirm it was 2.5%. So again, we need to make sure that we communicate with the co-broke before we write up these offers. And this is where we again verify 2%. This is the compensation agreement from seller's broker to buyer's broker. This is a form that the two brokers have between themselves to guarantee that we get paid our commission at closing. And this is that loan payoff for the assessments. Since we've incorporated this into the contract, I'm going to go ahead and have the buyers initial this. Just the first page is fine. And there's their pre-approval. So that is the process of putting together a contract. So now what we need to do is send this out for signing. So you click request signature, and this kind of gives you the explanation of how to send something out for signing. But I'm going to walk you through this right now. Start a signature request. And what I'm going to do here is we're going to send out Luis's first. So we have to do a separate signature request for every signer. So we just have to verify, basically tell this program which boxes are going to be assigned to him. And he's going to be buyer 1. Now, the editable fields section, basically what would happen is anything that we check here gives our signer the ability to fill in the text boxes within a contract. In this case, I'm not going to highlight anything, but, as an example, if I was sending this out to a seller, I would select all on the property disclosure, and then the seller would have the ability to fill in those boxes as they go. And then this section, I've already sent him a signature, so I don't have to copy and paste. There's his email. I'm just going to call this purchase paperwork. And you can have your signature automatically put in here. We can walk through that through a different recording. And then this is the notification section. Once he has signed, whoever has a checkbox is going to get an email notification that he signed. So request signature, this just went to his inbox. Now, what's also kind of cool about this is that I can take this link, I can copy it, and I can text message this link over to him, and he can, all he needs is the link. He doesn't need the original email that got sent to him. So, if you've got a customer that, says, oh, I don't see the email, resend it. You can, of course, resend it right here, but you can also text message the link. Now, another thing that's neat is that we can continue to modify this document right up until it's signed. So let's say, he changes his mind and he wants to increase the offer to 315. If he hasn't signed it yet, I can go in there right now and change it to 315, and he can click his link and he'll see the updated price of 315. So that's done. Now what I'm also going to do, and you can see right here, this little pen right here indicates that there's a signature request that hasn't been completed. I need to do this again for the other buyer, but what I also want to show you is I do this for myself because there are some things that I need to sign. And instead of going through and signing everything individually, I send myself the link and then I can initial all, sign all. I'll show you how this works. I select myself. Actually, don't even need them. I'll keep this so you can see the notification when it's done. But right now, I now have two options. I've got this signature request. It would have just come to my email. You can see this is the same link. So I can click it here, or I can come right here and I can sign it just clicking that. So I'm going to click initial all. And then sign all. And now that that's been signed, I'm going to get that notification because I clicked the notify all button. And there we go. Now, what's also neat about this email is that when you get this, when you click on this, it's going to open up that app file. So you don't have to go through all your app files to try to find this file now. You can just click that link and it's going to bring you right in there. So we've got one more signature request to do, and then we will conclude the recording. Two, 5, 2. Done. All right, so we've sent out our signature requests. Now let's say this is now signed. Since I put this whole packet together, everything in this packet needs to go to the listing agent and seller. So I can just click download right here. It's going to download this whole group of paperwork, and then I can just email this away. Once everything's completed, eventually we don't want all this paperwork put together. So at that point, we can click split forms and every individual document will be separated. So anyway, that's how you put together a as is purchase agreement in app files. As always, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Talk to you later. Take care.